with that down and out of the way, let's move on to our fifth and final main topic today. And our fifth and final main topic today gets submitted to us by Abrillo25. Abrillo25 writes, "Hey, John. According to the Hollywood Reporter, the Obi-Wan series has been put on indefinite hold and the writers are being sent home because Kathleen Kennedy doesn't like the scripts. Did Kennedy just lose someone again? We need to talk about this, so what are your thoughts?" All right. Thanks a lot for sending that in, man. And there were some rumors going around that the Obi-Wan series had been canceled. That is not the case. The series has not been canceled. What has happened, however, according to Hollywood Reporter, Variety, Deadline, everybody else, is that apparently there are issues with the script. They've halted. They're not going to go into production this year because I believe they were going to be, if I'm not mistaken, I believe they were going to go into production on this summer. They're now saying the production on this is going to happen sometime next year. Sometime in 2021 is when production will happen. They are also saying that they did indeed lose their writer. And I'm trying to remember Hussein Amini, who is the writer of that. Now, Hussein Amini, he's written a couple things, some good things, some not so good things. I mean, if we look over at his resume, I mean, he did The Snowman, which is one of the worst films in the last 10 years with Michael. That movie is just brutal. He did 47 Ronin with some good action, but not a good story. He did Snow White and the Huntsman, not so good. But he also wrote Drive,
nice,
which is bloody good. You're forgiven for everything else because you wrote Drive, because that movie was freaking brilliant. So apparently they've lost the writer. The writer's now departed. Chalk that another one up for a creative that Kathleen Kennedy has lost before the production actually goes into creation mode. All right. Now, Ewan McGregor then came out last night to say that all the reports are BS. The problem is, he says all the reports are BS, but nothing that he said actually contradicted anything that the Variety and the Hollywood Reporter are saying. They're saying there have been delays, they want to rework the script, all this kind of stuff, production's been delayed, and all that is true. Even according to Obi-Wan Kenobi himself, Ewan McGregor. But I think what McGregor was referring to, saying all the reports are BS, is that Obi-Wan series has been canceled and all that kind of stuff. So obviously none of that is true. The series was not canceled, it was not anything like that, but they are having to push off and move on again. This is both interesting and concerning to me on several levels. Interesting and concerning on several levels. The interesting part here is this. Hearing that the script is not where they want it to be. Because it was over 5 fucking months ago that Kathleen Kennedy at D23 told us all about Obi-Wan and announced that the scripts were done. The scripts were done. They were going to go into production in it mid-2020. Scripts are done. That was back in August of 2019. And now we're hearing that, oh, the scripts just aren't quite there yet. You've had 5 months between August and now to find out if your scripts were where you wanted them to be yet or not. And by the way, you had whatever the year-long period was before they announced the project that they had been working on it. You told everybody the scripts were done in August, and now there's problems? Now the problems enough? Now, Ewan McGregor was trying to downplay it, and that's exactly what a good soldier should do. You know, he was there talking about, he was there to promote the Harley Quinn movie. He was obviously asked about this. He played the good soldier. He tried to downplay it, say, no, 90% of the script was great. If 90% of the script is great, you don't lose your writer. I'm just saying, if you really thought 90% of the script is great, no, the script is great, everything's good, you know, we just want to tinker a little bit. Really? You don't need to push it off. You don't need to push production off 6 months and fire the writer just because you need to tinker a little bit. This was a script they said they had done back in August. And here's the concerning thing to me. This is the concerning thing to me. Now, I talked just yesterday, Aaron. I always try to be incredibly optimistic about Star Wars. Like, I can be unhappy. I've spoken recently about, I've been unhappy with the way that Kathleen Kennedy has just not seemed to be able to do the job of a studio head, of being able to properly manage and vet the people she's bringing on as creatives. She has lost more directors and writers in 5 films than Kevin Feige has over 20 plus films at Marvel. All right. In just a short window of time. But Every time a new movie's coming, I'm putting on my Kathleen Kennedy hat. I'm putting on my Kathleen Kennedy shirt. I'm taking up my Kathleen Kennedy flag. I'm going, go Kathleen Kennedy, make this thing awesome. I can't wait, right? And then it comes, just like I cheer for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Go win, guys. And then they lose. I'm like, my God, my team sucks. But I'm going to cheer for them again next week. And it's just been this damn roller coaster that Kathleen Kennedy has put us on. Can we get through one bloody project on Star Wars without finding that there had to be a massive production delay, or they had to ditch the writers when they already said 5 months ago the scripts are done, or they had to move on from creative differences from yet another set of writers or another director or whatever? Can we get through one bloody film or one bloody project? Yeah, hey, Mandalorian, pretty drama-free, Mandalorian, credit where it's due. But other than that, can we get through one thing? And here's the sad part for me, Aaron. This is the sad part for me. I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. We, as Star Wars fans, and just media fans, everybody, just media fans, we have been conditioned now to just expect that a ball is going to be dropped. We just expect it now.
Yeah.
Now it's just a matter of when. When will the ball be dropped? We're supposed to have these films in 2020. We lost these directors, we lost those directors, and now we lose another writer. Oh, no, the scripts are done. We're going to start shooting. Oh, now we're not going to shoot till 2020. This is now the common, normal operating procedure for this three-ring circus. And it's frustrating. And now look, as we get close to whatever the next Star Wars movie is going to be, which we have no idea, as we get close to whenever this Obi-Wan series actually comes, which we have no idea when that will be, I'm going to, again, put on the hat, put on the shirt, bring out my flag, and I'm going to be all excited, and I'm going to cheer it on. But as a fan, it starts to become very frustrating when you see time and time and time and time again and again and again and again that she can't do this. Kathleen Kennedy, I've said this before, is one of the greatest producers in the history of Hollywood. Steven Spielberg called her the most talented producer he has ever worked with, and he's the greatest filmmaker of all time. And I was all for when they announced that she was taking over Lucas. She was handpicked by George Lucas himself. And I was all for it. When you looked at her track record, she was a great hire. A great hire. This is not the right job for her. This is, I've just come to the, now, 2 years ago, I started to get frustrating with all the director turnover because I've always said her main job is to make sure she gets the right people, vet them properly, make sure she's on the same page with them, and put the right creators and filmmakers in place to do. And what have we seen? Time and time and time and time again. Oh, we hired this person. Creative differences. Oh, now we've hired this person. Creative differences. And that happens once in a while. And we should expect it to happen once in a while in this business.
But at a certain point, you have to look at what the common denominator is.
It cannot be every day. It can't happen every single time. And I cannot help, look, and I to this day remain a Kathleen Kennedy fan. I'm a Tom Brady fan.
Why are you a Kathleen Kennedy fan?
Because she is one of the greatest producers of all time. I mean, just this, it's like Tom Brady. Here's an example. Tom Brady, right? Greatest quarterback of all time. What's that?
Is that Giselle's husband?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I know who that is.
Mr. Giselle, that's him.
Yes.
Giselle, I should say. Mr. Giselle. Greatest quarterback of all time.
Okay.
But if you put him at wide receiver, it's not going to work.
Right. It's not
That's
his job.
not his strength. That's not playing to his strengths. It's actually just accentuating his weaknesses. He is the greatest player in the history of the NFL, but don't put him at wide receiver. Get him back at quarterback where he's going to do his best work. And I feel like I've come to a place, and I've come to this place a while ago, but I feel like, man, Kathleen Kennedy, you're one of the best that's ever done it as a producer. This clearly isn't the role for you. You can't be happy. And you can't be somebody who's so accustomed to so much success. You can't be happy. Get back to being one of the best in the world at what you've ever done in one of the highest positions in Hollywood, and just go back to creating great all-time classic movies for everybody.
So go back to producing a singular
movies.
Produce a singular entity versus overseeing the
being
entire
a studio
world.
Head, because it's not working. Because this is just listen, and let me be clear about this. This Obi-Wan situation, in a vacuum, is actually not that big of a deal. It would be unfortunate it would be, but you said 5 months ago the scripts were done. Well, okay, it's unfortunate. It's a little mark on the page, but whatever. In a vacuum, in the absence of all the other drama, this Obi-Wan thing is not that big of a deal. But when your face has been run over by a car and a puppy just, scratching your face, maybe not a big deal on its own, but after your face has been run over by a car, a puppy scratching your face can hurt a damn lot. And it's just that this Obi-Wan situation doesn't happen in a vacuum. It's not the first thing that's happened. It's happening as the next event in a long line of Keystone Cops, clowns coming in out of the car show that has been Lucasfilm over the last couple of years.
And that only started happening when Kathleen Kennedy took over.
Yes. Now, to be fair, it's not like Lucasfilm had done a whole hell of a lot in the previous decade.
So the production increased dramatically, and there was just a lot more to oversee.
And it just seems like every single project, there has been something. Mm-hmm. And again, I want to be clear. I'm not saying that this Obi-Wan thing, hey, listen, delays happen, writers come and go, this happens. But when it's the next piece of the puzzle of it happening again and again and again and again, it gets frustrating. Anyway, I've gone on about this enough. As somebody who, from a little bit more of an objective perspective, who's not as overly emotionally butthurt invested in this like somebody like me is, how do you look at this whole situation?
One of the things that was coming to mind when you were talking is this saying, never sit front row at the ballet. And the reason for that is that when you sit front row at the ballet, you see the sweat, you can see the grimace, you see the tape wrapped around the ankles, you see the reality of what it means to be a ballerina. And when you sit further back, you can remain blissfully ignorant to the realities of that. And, I think that one of the things that is so exciting about having access to all of the information of like, okay, they've greenlit the script. Okay, they found a director. Okay, they're on production. Okay, catering has been set up. Okay, somebody's going to the bathroom. Like, we know minute by minute everything that's happening with these projects. But then, like, we have almost too much access. Whereas if we can go back to a time where we're just like, hey, when is the new Star Wars film coming out? Oh, it's coming out in 2 weeks. Okay, great. Let's all go. But that's not the case. We know the minute by minute comings and goings of every project. And then therefore we are subject to the frustrations of the inevitable delays and issues and creative challenges. And, I would be very curious to hear. I mean, clearly they do a good job of keeping a tight lip, loose lip sink ships. And so the people, good for Ewan McGregor, maybe his friend Stephen Amell could take a cue from that. Good for him for being able to be political and saying, hey, everything's great. I love riding on the Titanic, everything, but I think, clearly you're right. I mean, if all of a sudden these things keep happening, you have to look at the common denominator. And I'm sure she probably is much happier in a producer position. I mean, I know friends that have been casting directors and love casting because they get to work with actors and they have been offered roles as like head of casting at blah, blah, blah studio. And they're like, I don't want that job. Yeah, it's going to be guaranteed health insurance. Yeah, it's going to be a bigger paycheck, but I won't get to work with actors. I'll have to go to meetings all the time. I'll be the person in charge of everybody. And it's more of a bureaucracy, is that the word? Than it is the actual thing that I love doing. And I feel like Kathleen Kennedy is probably someone that loves getting her hands dirty and being down in the trenches and doing the work. And sometimes, you get too high and you're I don't know. But I suggest maybe for anyone that's getting as emotional about it, maybe sit in the back row. I mean, you obviously can't because of your profession.
It's
You're not
difficult.
allowed to. You have to know the comings and goings.
My season tickets are in the front row, so I'm kind of
exactly. Good therapy and good medication. I highly recommend.
Good medication. and let me point something out here too. All of my frustration. You notice I'm not talking at all about the quality of the movies.
Oh yeah.
Because to me, look. making good movies, making quality TV shows, it's like one of the hardest things in the world to do. There are movies and shows that she has made that I've really enjoyed since her tenure as overseeing Lucasfilm. I love The Force Awakens. I love Rogue One. I really love Mandalorian. There are things that have happened on her watch that I'm not such a big fan of. The most recent Rise of Skywalker. I'm not a fan of The Rise of Skywalker. But see, to me, it's not about the issue about the quality of the films so much as it is about, are you fostering an environment? Are you creating a space where good things can happen, or are you fostering an environment of chaos? Because you can still make great stuff in an environment of chaos, but it becomes more challenging.
Well,
and it
look
becomes
at
harder.
look at Harvey Weinstein.
Yeah. I mean,
look at CBS.
Yep,
Look with Les Moonves. It all comes from the top, and just because, and the more that you are pumping out good quality material, the more that people tend to turn a blind eye to.
Not that we're trying to compare Kathleen Kennedy to Harvey Weinstein.
Sorry.
Like
That was a terrible, analogy. I just
mean, to be clear.
Yeah, sorry. That was a terrible analogy. I did not mean to compare this to at all. Thank you for calling me on that, John. Thank you. I just mean that whoever is in charge does set the tone for the culture of a company, and the product of that company is not always a good measure of how the culture is doing.
Right. So to me, the biggest things are, she has exhibited a failure to do the most important job, which is to get the right people in the right places the first time, properly vet them, make sure you're 100% on the same page with them, make sure all expectations are understood. That's the number one job. That has been a disaster. She also failed to make sure going into the new trilogy that they had a game plan. There was clearly no game plan. They went, to use a football analogy, they went down by down. They didn't go half by half. They went down by down. They kind of made it up as they went along. This, again, just screams to me that she is truly one of the most gifted producers in the history of this game, but this was not.
So
this
go
is not
produce.
the spot. Yeah, so go produce. I don't know, guys. Listen, maybe again, I'm just being self-admittedly, because I'm a Star Wars fan, overly butthurt about this. That's very strongly a possibility. But question is, how do you feel about this and the way the whole Obi-Wan situation happens? Again, I don't think you can look at this Obi-Wan situation in a vacuum. It's not. It's part of a pattern that gets a little bit frustrating. But anyway, how do you guys feel about that? Jump down to the comments section below and let me know your thoughts. Okay, guys.